I'm Christina.
I'm Stacey.
And I'm Natalie.
And this is our plant recommendation panel. You write into us about your gardens, ask questions about what plants should go there, and we provide suggestions. And today we've got Audrey. She gardens in USDA Zone 9B in full sun. Her soil is loamy. And special considerations are that it's southern exposure, so the sun is hot. She writes to us, "Love all things proven winners and gardening simplified. We just purchased our home and there is zero landscaping in the backyard and lots of boulders. There's old lavender and trailing lantana that will be removed. I am used to gardening in a flat garden, so I need inspiration and a lot of help. Would appreciate any and all suggestions. Thank you." So, first of all, Audrey, I am going to say that lantana and lavender looks like it's doing really well. It looks like it's happy there. It softens that landscape. And with a slope, it's nice to take advantage of roots that are already there, holding the soil in place. I would actually just work off of that cool color palette that's already in place. I'm going to embrace plants that don't need regular pruning for the center of the bed, so you don't have to do a lot of walking on that uneven ground. Just kind of plant it, take care of it for the first year, and then water from a distance when needed. So this is a big space, and I am so excited to recommend a big plant to fill it. Rocksteady Chastetree. It's tough. It enjoys hot sun. It loves well-draining soil, which it looks like you have. Very low maintenance. So I would put that as a centerpiece in that spot kind of up the hill. And then around it, I would plant some Let's Dance Can Do hydrangeas. So they're a nice mid-size. They rebloom. They're just a lovely color. I'm not sure what color they would end up being, but either way, if it's a blue or a pink, it's still a cool pink, maybe leans to purple. So that would be just a beautiful color combination with those different flower shapes too. And then in front of that, you could plant either Montana moss juniper, which is another really fun texture. I love gardens that are diverse in visual texture, and that plant is just so fine and pretty, and it's got that like blue-green foliage. It's relatively low growing, and it is so low maintenance. It'll love your space, and it's soft to the touch. I don't know how much you would be willing to use, but if that little patio area, it kind of looked like she might have a pool off to the side. So if a beach ball were to say go into this garden of yours, you would not be hurt by this juniper. It's actually very soft and nice. So you could plant some Montana mosses around there, get this very airy vibe because it looks kind of like you already have that with the flowing lantanas and the lavender. Another low-growing plant that you can plant on the outside of that garden bed is PUGSTER blue butterfly bush. This is a prolifically flowering plant, has a lovely little fragrance that gets caught in the wind nicely, but it does need maintenance. So because it is lower growing, you can get to it easily at the edge of the garden bed, but it will be perfect to kind of tie in that same flower shape with the Chastetree up the hill. And maybe down by that little patio area, you could plant another specimen plant, which would be a beautiful Azurri blue satin Rosa Sharon. So that Rosa Sharon is just such a powerhouse for color. It's got these big, beautiful flowers. They're just the deepest, yummiest, cool colors. And it's tough. It'll flower for a long time, and once it gets established, you're not going to have to do anything with it. If there's a little bit more of a slope there, you don't have to really go back in there and try and wrangle it in any way. So those are the recommendations I have for you. Just a nice oasis of flowing shapes and forms and a blend of foliage textures and a lot of different flower shapes. Just rich and visual, so you don't have to get in there and do much work.
Okay, Audrey, I, like Christina, also just really love the lantana in your landscape. I love that pink color. I love the mounding and the way it flows. I also would keep it. Unlike Christina, I would pull out the lavender. It's hard to know just looking at a picture, but I know lavender when it gets older can tend to get really woody and it can tend to lose some of the softness. So my plan does include something where that lavender was, but if you wanted to keep the lavender, if you were like, oh, actually it does look good, you could do this plan and just put it right in front of it because you have so much space to landscape. So when I looked at your plan, the first thing I noticed was it looks like you have a little empty space between your sidewalk and the front of your house. So I started there and worked down because I think you've got this, picture window and then this big gray expanse of your house, and how beautiful that would be if we did some rows of color in there. And I thought if you planted a row of native Rudbeckia in that little flower bed there, you'd get that nice orange color throughout the season. There are different varieties. Some are shorter, some are taller. You could plant a little Goldstar variety under your window, which is a shorter variety, and then next to it something like Goldsturm, which is a taller variety. So you get that orange Black-Eyed Susan look all the way across. And then I would pepper in between them some ESTRELLITA Little Star Bouvardia. So you get that bright red color. You can do Little Star or Scarlet, and you get those warm tones of the orange and the reds interspersing one another in your border. And then if there's still room behind it, you could plant a trellis with something like a Sweet Summer Love Clematis climbing up it, so you can get the purple up in behind it. That's a nice complementary color to orange, and I think it would really dress up the front of your house. And then if we leap across your sidewalk, I would do another border along the other side of your sidewalk with a row of La Vida moss Indian hawthorn. This is a nice, very small, low-growing, 1 to 2 foot tall, 3 to 4 foot wide Indian hawthorn with some gorgeous pink flowers. It's got those nice, shiny, rugged foliage, and along the other side of your border, I think that would be really pretty and low maintenance, a nice low maintenance shrub. So you've got the front of your house, you've got the other side of the sidewalk, and then it appeared like you had some rocks that you could trail something down to in front of your lantana. So I thought, why not make a nice little interspersed planting of, lo and behold, ruby chip buddleia. It's a non-invasive buddleia, brings that pinky purple color that we already have in your lantana. We kind of brought it in with the clematis, and we have it in your La Vida moss. So it brings it down almost like a little river of buddleia down to in front of your existing lantana. And then I thought, here's where we can put a showpiece of really interesting plantings. Something we can't do where we live, so I'm excited for you living in a 9B full sun area, and that is a huge planting of mangaves. So mangaves are, and I'm going to look at my notes because our partners at Walter's Gardens for Proven Winners grow these. It's an intergeneric hybrid of manfreda and agave. Agave leads to its durability and its large architectural form. Manfreda gives it these really cool, unique coloring and patterning, and it makes it a lot softer and easier to handle than agave would be. So I pulled out some from their page. If you go to the Mad About Mangave page, there are tons of sizes and textures and colors to choose from. You really can't go wrong, but I would anchor it with Aztec King, which is a huge mangave, 20 to 24 inches tall and 38 to 42 inches wide. You could put that in as an anchor. There are so many varieties. Check out Red Wing and Snow Leopard. And then there's a Praying Hands mangave to give you more of a artichoke look almost, with that tall conal, kind of looks like a cone, and you could pop those in and around to give you a different shape. Cherry Chocolate Chip is another really great color, but look for mangaves. See what would look good. If there are agaves and you don't mind that they have a sharp prickly texture, those would look great in there too. And then I would underplant them with some Delosperma and lemon coral sedum, just to bring in more color, bright color of the sedum, bright color of the Delosperma. There's Kaleidoscope Dancing Embers, or maybe you could bring in a purple like Orchid Flash. Once again, brings your lantana color in, brings your Sweet Summer Love Clematis color underneath all this mangave. I would continue all of that underplanting down at your little brick wall that you have that goes to the front of your property. And along that brick wall, I would plant some eucomis. And I've recommended this in the past. Another plant that I can't grow unless I just want to grow it as a summer plant, but they have one called Crowning Glory Princess Bride, and its common name is a pineapple lily, and it still has that, it echoes that great tropical look of the mangaves, and it's got a nice, really pretty pink flower that comes up in the center, and maybe you could also pepper in some solar flare, Nephofia, or red hot poker in there. So my design has a lot of really bright color, it really leans into that tropical motif that you can do so well there, and it also I think will do well in, you've got great soil in something that maybe doesn't get quite as much water as other areas. So that is my recommendation to you, from the house to the front of your lawn.
It's so funny to me that you recommended so many succulents, because I did not recommend a single succulent, and I am crazy about cacti and succulents. I grow a ton of hardy succulents, and so I'm sitting here listening to Natalie's list, and I'm like, I cannot believe it did not occur to me to plant a single succulent in this landscape, because I took one look at this and I said, does this thing have hummingbird garden written all over it, or what? Not only does it seem like the perfect spot to plant things that hummingbirds love, and you can observe them from the two patios. I see you have the one patio kind of fenced in to the left of your photos, and then the patio obviously that we can see with the chaise longue in there. Plus, all of the plants that attract hummingbirds have really bright, vivid colors that are going to look awesome with your gray house and all those beautiful green trees that you have around your house. So to me, the first spot to address is the spot to the left of the window. That's just crying out for something to kind of soften that space. I did not really take advantage of any space that might be between the walkway and your house. Basically, everything that I'm recommending is in the actual bed that you're showing us. And so I would position a hibiscus. And Christina also recommended hibiscus. She recommended Azurri blue satin. My recommendation is actually paraplu. My favorites are pink ink or paraplu violet. But I would recommend strongly sticking with paraplu violet for the other plants I'm going to tell you about in a moment. So I would position a paraplu violet hibiscus sort of right in the bed, but so that when you are in the bed or at that patio, that it kind of fills that space and covers it up and just softens it. But they will bloom for a really long time, give you tons of color, and attract hummingbirds. If that's not really your cup of tea, I've got two great alternatives for you. You could do an El Nino Chitalpa, which would be awesome. Now, that's not such a super hummingbird attracting plant. I have one, and the hummingbirds have not gone totally crazy for it, but it has tons of color, amazing fragrance, and I think that the size and shape would work really well to fill in that spot. And finally, I'm not sure where in USDA Zone 9 you are, but some of the trees in the background kind of made me feel like this is maybe like a high desert, possibly Northern California, maybe Northern Arizona, I'm not really sure. But if it would work, I would love to see an ocotillo there. So ocotillo is an amazing southwestern native with these long, spiky branches and little tiny foliage, and after it rains, it explodes in these red flowers. It's super sculptural, it's super unique, and depending on, especially if you're like more in Arizona or the Southwest, it's gonna look right at home and just be an amazing accent. So that kind of takes care of that space. Next, what I would do is I would put a path through this bed. It's a big space, and you don't have to do a formal path like where you're gonna be putting down pavers or anything like that, but I would design a sort of slightly softly winding path for two reasons. Number one, it's going to give you access to all of the plants so you can maintain it more easily. And it's actually three reasons. And the second reason is once you have this all landscape, you're going to want to walk through it and you're going to want to enjoy it and, look at everything and have like those beautiful walks through your garden. And then the third reason is because when you break up such a large space with a path, it just makes it a lot easier to design the resulting spaces rather than try to approach it as one big whole. So determine where that path is going to be. I would basically position it so that it kind of terminated at whatever you plant, whatever hibiscus or El Nino or ocotillo that you plant up there at the end. Now, in the rest of that area, I would love to see 3 to 5 chiclet tacomas. They are also native to the Southwest, yellow or orange as you prefer. We do have a red. It's new. It's not really going to be on the market until 2026, but you could keep that in mind. But I love the idea of the chiclet orange with a pair of blue violet hibiscus. I think that would just be an amazing color combination. And even if it ends up being kind of a little too much, I think having a bunch of other stuff in there is just going to kind of help it blend. But it's a native shrub, perfect for your climate, and it will attract a ton of hummingbirds. It blooms for months. And I think color is obviously really important here. So I'd then pepper in 1 to 3 strategically placed lower mounded evergreens like jukebox pyracomylles. And that's not a plant a lot of people have heard of, but it actually did win an award for drought tolerance from the University of California, Davis. So it has a blue ribbon award for being very, very drought tolerant. So it's going to give you that like glossy evergreen color with really no care. It's nice and mounded, same kind of thing Christina was talking about, like having nice tidy mounds that don't need a lot of work or maintenance. I think Montana moss is another great choice. There's going to be tons of junipers. Another plant, it's not a proven winner's variety, but I love and wish I could grow, is Texas sage, Leucophylla. And it just has a silvery foliage. It is a shrub. It's an evergreen shrub, silver shrub, I guess, with pink flowers, small foliage. It just has that like great kind of like drought tolerant, hummingbird attracting look. So I would, pick some of those, pepper those in sort of around the structure that you're making. So now that you've established that structure, with woody plants, like bring on the perennials. String theory Amsonia from Proven Winners would be a fabulous choice for fall color. It has really soft thread-like foliage, and in the fall turns a beautiful glowing yellow. It has nice kind of pale blue flowers in spring. But because, of course, I'm gardening vicariously through you in USDA Zone 9, I would go crazy with drought-tolerant perennials that attract hummingbirds. So I'm thinking Salvia gregii, Salvia leucantha, Hesperaloe, Agastache, Penstemon, Zauschneria, and just layer in that color. Like all of those plants that I just described have like vivid, saturated flower color, and no matter how much you put in there, it's just going to be amazing. The hummingbirds are going to like it as much as you do. But what I would really recommend, I know that's a big list and you might not necessarily be familiar with those plants, but what I would recommend is that you go to the garden center and see what attracts you. What's speaking to you? What kind of colors do you like? And do that multiple times through the season. And that way what you're going to end up with is plants that have that kind of cascading bloom time. Not just stuff that looks really, really good in spring and then kind of doesn't flower later. By making those monthly trips, you're going to be able to make sure, like, hey, this looked really great when I was here in May. This looked really great when I was here in June. And then you'll know that your garden is always going to have something really, really colorful in flower. And as long as you have flowers, you're going to have hummingbirds. So finally, I did kind of key in on that little tree that's in your backyard, sort of to the left of the photos that you sent. And what I would do is get a cute little bistro set and put it under that tree. So you have yet a third vantage point to enjoy this garden and all the hummingbirds it's going to attract.
Wow.
There we have it.
Hopefully you are inspired. I bet you could do any one of these ideas or jumble them all together and make just the most incredible garden, Audrey. And I look forward to seeing what it looks like, because I think we need a picture of what you end up doing with this amazing space. If you are not Audrey and you would like us to recommend some plants for your space, write us a message, send us some pictures of your garden, and we could make you a video. We'll see you again next time.